Hello Fly Nation and welcome to the Freestyle Your Life podcast, the one and only podcast inspiring you to live your authentic greatness while teaching you that less is more. I'm your host, Aneste Kaller-Zimmermann, and I'm on my mission to help you to be the hero you were meant to be and to live what you came for in life and in business. Remember, the quest we came here for is to discover our true nature, explore our potential and share it by living. Hello Fly Nation, I'm so excited to have Gareth Martin with me today, and he is running the Ridiculously Human podcast, which I really admire, together with his brother who's living in Australia. And these guys are just amazing, and I was sort of sent to you by energy because of the compassionate love you're sharing there. You both really lovely brothers, and of course we share the same thinking and mindset, right, on both offering lifestyle coaching, of course, but on the importance to really run life on own terms, right, to skip wearing all these masks and following these old patterns, and just to free ourselves up. Nobody else will do it. When we don't do it, nobody will do it. And well, of course, we did this transformation ourselves, and that's what we love to inspire other people by the life stories and experiences we share on our podcast. And so that's why you're here, and it was just synchronicity, and I was just sent to you, and that's why I came up. So we don't know each other personally, but I just felt we need to talk. So it's so lovely to have you, and please help me welcome Gareth. Welcome.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast, and the world certainly has a great way of like converging things and bringing us together, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm really delighted to speak with you and to be connecting with you as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And we just talked about, I'm in Germany actually, and you're nearby London, and the weather is really bad. So we are sending you some sun. So Gareth, you and your brother running this Ridiculously Human podcast, and you are interviewing, just like I do, people because we both, all three of us, believe that we can learn and inspire and motivate others by life-changing stories, right? So whenever we just mustn't be an expert only, I consider people that went through trauma and survived it, maybe lost a child or the partner or whatever, or health challenges. I consider them as experts too, because they did find a way actually to move through it, right? And they didn't stop before they found it. And that's our mission here, to share those stories, and you guys do it as well, to inspire others to go for their dreams and to really untap their talents, their strengths, and shine and bring that to the world, right? So we believe we are all here for a reason, and everybody has special talents, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think people forget that they've lived a life and that they have a story, and that's what we really we want people to know and to understand that you don't have to look up to these amazing people that have achieved like great things in their life. You only have to really look like either within at yourself or at people that are very close to you and listen to their stories, and it's amazing like what value you can get by listening to other people's stories, especially everyday people like, you and myself. And it's so powerful, seriously, to also to tell your own story, because when you tell your own story, you kind of begin to understand yourself that little bit more. And you also actually receive nice feedback when people hear your story. Even those people that are really, really close to you, they might think that they know everything about you, but they don't actually, you know. And through telling your story, it's a very like empowering thing that we all should be encouraged to do.
Yeah, I'm so glad, Gareth, you bring this up, because that's exactly the point. Sometimes we think, well, that's my story, and it's a big step to go and get visible, be seen, and be heard. That was it for us too, right? For me, especially after already facing death, to come to the point to speak with you here today. That was a big transformation, and I transformed myself over and over to now showing up authentically and just doing the things I love and that make me happy, and just skipping the rest, right? So I'm a fan of really doing what we love and improving our strengths, rather than improving and getting better at the things we are not good at or we suck, right? So I just skip them, most of them, and I concentrate on, focus on the things that really bring me to shine.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great way to look at life. You know, you only have a limited amount of time here, so you might as well spend it. You might as well spend it doing stuff that you really, really enjoy. And you have to find that sort of clarity though in your life to find out what it is that brings you joy. And I think that sometimes is a struggle which people actually do need to find out, because they kind of like they think that they need to do this or they need to do that to kind of have joy in their life. But, you know, they just need to kind of start like going a bit inward and writing stuff down to find out what it is that makes them happy in life. You know, ultimately you have to live your own life, and you have to try and do it as much as you can on your own terms, and just make the most of your time available on this planet.
Yeah, and that's the most precious asset we have, right? And once you're struggling with health, for example, I had an accident or whatever, this is of course a big warning sign. And then suddenly you really get to experience, oh my gosh, it could be over, right? So if you don't have that drastic a challenge, still we want just to focus people to use the time precious they have, right? We don't know how many more days we have, so let's spend it in such a lovely way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I don't think you need like bad things to necessarily happen to you. And I know this sounds like a weird way of looking at it, but there's always so much sort of so many things that happen to people that are in your lives that are directly connected to you, you know, and that should just be a wake up and a reminder that, you know what, life is short and these things can happen to anyone at any time, and therefore I must make the most of most of my opportunity, and just put myself out there and do things that are meaningful to me and that are providing value to the world.
And you're doing much better from your point of view than being in the investment company there. So you have been an investment banker before.
Yes,
for a long time.
I was an investment banker for 18 years actually, so a long time.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I basically arrived in London from South Africa when I was 18, and I messed around for a year, or not messed around. I think I had a lot of fun. I partied and I traveled and I did all the cool things, you know. And then I decided instead of going home after 1 year that I was going to actually stay in London. And then I got myself a job, and that was a job in banking, doing filing actually, and and I was a filer for like almost 2 years. But then eventually kind of moved on because it was a cool time to be in banking where it didn't really matter if you needed a degree or anything like that. They would just sort of train you up based on how keen you were to learn new things and stuff. And that ended up being for 18 years, which was, to be honest, it was an amazing experience. When I look back, I don't really look back with it with any sort of grudge or anything whatsoever. I think it was a great learning opportunity. It taught me so many things. I made amazing friends, met awesome people. But it just it just wasn't actually me. You know what I mean? It wasn't what I wanted to do. It did change a little bit towards the back end of the industry during my time. And I was just seeking something else that was more fulfilling personally, and that I was actually giving back to the world. You know, I think when you're in the corporate world, you know, it's kind of often one way, you know, like you're kind of, you know what I mean? And I wanted to actually give back a little bit. And I guess now I feel like I'm doing that, and my days are much more fulfilled, that's for sure, in terms of just like, you know, how I feel as a person. So yeah, I mean, now feels great. I feel really good about what we're doing and what I'm doing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you have been setting up the lifestyle coaching really to transform people and have them untap their talents. This is called future-proof coaching. I like that name. And but at the end, so cutting it down, it's almost the same that we are doing, just we named it different, right? But
yeah,
most
sure.
of the topic inside is the same. And I called it Freestyle Your Life because, I thought that there, for myself, there have been so many issues, and that obviously haven't been good for me. And I said, well, I'm not willing to carry them along. And I think I have to go outside for a little second because my son arrived yesterday from Canada for 3 days to Frankfurt because because his brother is partying. He's going out of school, so they get the certificates there tomorrow, and the party is tomorrow. And so he hasn't been here for over 1 year, flying in for 3 days just to hug his brother and do him the favor to be here. So normally it's crazy. He's flying 2 days and he's 3 days here. But well, yeah. So the freestyling means, well, skip what is obviously not good for you. And for me, it was even really bad because I got so ill. And then we style life at own terms. So this is exactly what you're doing, is just named differently, right? So would you love to share a little bit with the listeners the importance of living on own terms and what we can get from it, and also the sort of compassionate love we shared, we are living, right?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, it's different for everybody in life, you know, like, you know, what you actually want out of life. So I think, you know, some people are really happy with going into work, into like a corporate career, and, you know, getting told what to do and having that sort of structure in their day. And that is like perfect. You know what I mean? If that fulfills you, that means that you are living life on your terms. And then there's the other side of things where, you know, you don't want to do that. You actually want to have that bit more like yourself, you know, you want to have that bit more flexibility in your life. You want to be actually in charge of your day. You want to do things that you enjoy doing, that add to also your bottom line as a person, you know, and as a business. So it all depends on the person, what you actually want to do. For me and for you, it sounds like, you know, we both want to, I guess, work for ourselves. We want to have that flexibility to basically, you know, go and do what we want, to go and work on things that we want, things that are providing value, things that are giving back into the world. Personally, I can just say that now my life, as opposed to when I was an investment banker, feels so much different and so much better. And it is on my terms. But the thing I want people to also know is that, you know, on your terms doesn't necessarily mean it's easier and you're working less and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I actually find that I'm working much more, you know, and I'm talking about, I was an investment banker working minimum 50 hours a week. And now I reckon I'm on probably 60, 65, 70 even sometimes. But the thing is, it doesn't feel like work. Yeah. And I know that sounds cliche, whatever, but it's not. I go to bed in the evening, or say, like, I don't know, whatever time comes in the evening, like late, and I'm like, oh my word, I can't believe today is finished. Like, I really wish there was a few more hours in here so that I could carry on working. And then in the morning, I'm just super excited to get up and to start working again, you know, after I've done, say, like my morning routine and whatnot. And it's just an amazing, invigorating feeling when you do have this sort of autonomy and flexibility and things that you work on in your own life. It's truly empowering, and it is literally life-changing, I feel.
Yeah, and that's, of course, we can say that from our perspective as we are living it. And I had an agency over here, and I switched everything onto being a laptop business now because I love to travel. And I'm traveling often to the Caribbean because I have my girlfriends there. And well, I just want to be flexible. So location and time flexibility and freedom is everything for me, right? So I am scheduling my calls here and everything I do, I have in my own hands, right? And all the talks, I don't talk to people who are not sympathetic for me, or I did channeling and everything, but I don't do it for the work. I did it for myself, to understand myself even better on my transformational journey. And now I use it to just tune into the interview partner, and that's very helpful. So just to it's really necessary to be open ourselves, right? And to tap into this potential and also our life purpose, and then to live it, because this is really fulfilling, right? If tomorrow we will not like podcasting, we just stop it and do something else, or eventually I will, right? There is no need to really go on doing things that we suck. Why should we?
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. Like, you know, we do have a choice in absolutely everything that we do in life, and we need, I don't think many people realize that and recognize that, and that's not necessarily their own fault. It's also because the way society is structured, the way weeks are structured, the way economies are structured and stuff. But that stuff is all made up. Like, just so you know, like everything is actually made up in this world, and therefore, because it's made up, it means we have a choice. We have a choice to go and actually do things a little bit differently, do things in our own sort of way. And when you realize that, and you start seeing the world in this way, you start understanding that there's so many opportunities out there, right? There literally is. The world is your oyster. You just need to kind of realize this and start working towards it in some sort of way. You know, take the smallest step possible that's going to get you that one step closer to actually where you want to be. And yeah, I mean, it's an amazing feeling when you actually start taking action. When you start taking action, you start doing things like building up your confidence. And I think this is something that everyone really struggles with. You know, everyone is like, not everyone, but like so many people are fear-based in terms of their mentality, and that's what really holds people back.
Yes, totally.
And the way to, I guess, overcome that is to not think way too big and way too out there, but rather to think a little bit smaller and to go, okay, cool, what can I actually do like today that's very, very small, that's going to get me one step closer to where I ultimately want to be.
Right, to inspire people to take the very next first step. That's our goal here. And well, it's doable. Is it easy? No, we can assure it will be not easy, but it's not easy to stay in the comfort zone, which is not comfortable, right? That either is not funny. And of course, it takes a lot of courage to go for your dreams. That's for sure. But it's doable, and it's fulfilling from the inside, right?
Yeah, super fulfilling from the inside. And one thing which you touched on there, and I'd like to just maybe go a little bit deeper on, is about things not being easy and things being difficult, you know, especially like say going on your own and starting your own business or whatever it is. It is very difficult, and that's part of the journey actually. One thing which I think has maybe got a little bit misconstrued in life is that everyone's kind of like searching for happiness, and they think life should be great and all these things. And it should be, but like the starting points, I think what we need to realize is actually that life is actually really difficult. You know, like it's not easy. There's going to be so many things that challenge you. And actually, these things start from the first thing in the morning when your alarm goes off, because you don't really want to wake up, so you put your alarm. So that's the first challenge of the day in a way. You know what I mean? But life is actually quite difficult. But the thing is you have a choice in terms of how you want to deal with those difficulties, right? Everything is almost a challenge, right? So you can go, and you can see this as a thing that's going to hold you back, and you can complain and you can moan about it and you can not do anything about it. Or what you can do is you can go, cool, I understand that this is part of life. I can see you now. I'm actually going to go and I'm going to go do something about it. And what happens when you have that approach is you have these small victories, right? And what happens at the end of a victory, you get rewarded. And that reward might be like, I don't know, some little dopamine hit, which makes you feel good, right? And if you can keep doing these challenges, then you get more and more rewarded. And the ultimate reward is happiness and joy. You know what I mean? And that's why some people, I think, are, you know, much more happy, and they see the world in a different light because they're prepared to take on these challenges, and they understand that life is, you know, not just a bed of roses. And that just, I think to have that perspective about life kind of just reframes it a little, and maybe makes things a little bit easier to deal with sometimes, or just at least to understand sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree, Gareth. And that's, that's a whole different approach. And what we focus on and put our attention on will, of course, increase, right? So if we focus on all the bad things and all where we are struggling and complaining all day, we are in this low energy field right there, right? And the only one to change it, of course, is us, ourselves, everybody for him or herself. But of course, we can get support and assistance, like from coaches, like we are, who have done the transformational path and journey themselves, right? So who have been there and went through all it, because going through it is the goal. And I really believe, from whatever I learned from my plenty of life lessons, is even the challenges, which of course at the moment we love to reject and resist and everything, right? But after a long time, when we look back, most of the times they had they have been right? We could learn something from it. So they contribute to our life, right? Whether we like them or they are sort of nice or not. But most of them bring us to deeper understanding or whatever we learn from them. But most of the time it's a learning path.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think you learn from anything easy, to be honest with you. You know, you don't learn from getting given something for free, or, you know, having something handed to you on a plate. That's not learning. You know, learning is like, I don't know, going broke, or, you know, getting told no 50 times
and start all over.
Exactly. Like those are the things which actually teach us lessons and which we can learn from. And I was listening to your podcast with Art, and I really liked the way that you guys chatted and the energy there, and also a lot of the stuff that you guys spoke about. And also what he was talking about, you know, like
the expectations.
Not the expectations, but more about like what he was talking about, like everything for him in life is actually a lesson. Nothing is necessarily a failure. And I agree with that. And you know what, it's all about the way we frame things and the mindset we have towards things. And if we can look at things like that, you know what I mean? If we can go, okay, that didn't go right, but I learned a hell of a lot from it. That is a lot more empowering and gives us a lot more confidence for the future. And instead of actually like looking at it like, oh, there was a failure, and I can't actually do it, and I'm bad, and all these things. Because if you start thinking like that, it's just a downward spiral, you know what I mean? And it kind of drags you down, and you're not actually helping out your future self by doing things or thinking like that.
Right. Totally agree, Gareth. And just for my listeners here, because they don't know where we stopped by Gareth just pointed out the episode number 9 with Art Costello, and I totally love him. He's such a wonderful person. And we were talking on expectations. He even did a program on that, because what we expect, right, determines the outcome. So whether we just go into the flow here into the interview and just be open and let come up everything and fly how it wants to be, right? Rather than trying to control the time and the system and everything, and feeling stuck or whatever. And so he did a big program and research on it, and I just love him. He's a wonderful person. So expectations for sure determine the outcome and how things are going, right? And that's exactly what we are just talking about. If we go into situations or meetings or whatever open-minded and just, oh, lovely, today I meet Gareth, right? And or if I go in and I have the feeling, I don't know how this might go with him, right? This determines the talk.
Yeah, you're very right. I think it's really important. You know what I mean? He uses the word expectation, but I think intention is what I would say. Like,
yes, it's almost the same. It's just he just named it different.
Yeah,
but yeah, the intention we set on and we have going into, for example, our talk here, of course, influences the whole talk.
100%, you know. So for example, like, you know, of course I'm a podcast host as well, so I know that it's nice to have a guest come in, like, you know, with good energy and with stuff to talk about, and that they've listened, you know, to your shows and these sort of things, because that is important. So, you know, for me, I have to come in with the right intention and the right energy to this chat, because if I don't, then it's just going to be a flop, like, on my side. And what's the point of that? Like, this is going to be up forever. I don't want this, you know, people to think that this is a flop and, you know, Gareth is like, whatever, this moron who doesn't prepare or, you know, has low energy. You want to set good intentions for almost every single interaction that you have and that you do, you know, and it doesn't have to be just for like interactions. It could be like an intention for the day. You know, you could wake up in the morning and the one thing you do at the start of the morning is you can go, I'm gonna take today a little bit slowly, for example. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm going to not let what people say to me today worry me. That's my intention for the day. And then you go and you follow through with these things, and it really does help the outcome of situations.
Right, and of course we as podcasters, we know that, but having people on the pod, on the interview, and then not telling anything, right? That's, for me, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Right? Because of course I always love to explain things a little bit from the background. In this talk I don't have to, because you're just doing this. But the worst thing for me is have people show up and they just silent, right? So we are here for a talk. This doesn't help, wouldn't help you, wouldn't either help me and nor my listeners, right? So if we are here and just watching the stars, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think we really need to understand the importance of collaboration in the world. Like,
Yeah,
I think
totally.
too many people are like trying to do things by themselves, and that's not a bad thing either. But we need to understand that there's much more power in collaboration. You'll be much more successful. Um, you'll be able to share the good stuff. You'll be able to share the bad stuff. You'll be able to share ideas. So join together with people and do things, you know what I mean? And just make the most of those interactions that you have, because at the end of the day, like, the energy that you bring, the attitude that you bring, really decides how people actually perceive you as a person. And I think it's important to remember that, like, first impressions do still count. I do always think that, you should give people at least 2 chances, because they just might be having a really bad day. Okay. But you've always got to, I think, try and bring your A game to things that you do. You must leave your B game at home and sort that out. You sort that out at home. You know what I mean? You sort those things out there at home, however you can do that yourself, but bring your A game to almost everything else.
That's it, right? So glad you bring that up, and I believe just bringing me, my son just coming in, bringing me out of the concept here, and we sorry for that.
Sons, eh? Wow. I'm joking.
I have 2 of them.
If it wasn't for kids, they wouldn't bring you wouldn't have so much joy in your life. So
yeah, but that's just authentic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Here for 3 days from Canada, and he's asking some questions here. That's just authentic. So I'm glad I don't have the I Will Be Perfect podcast. I have the authentic podcast, and that just fits in. So I'm sorry for that. But no, so many people and of us coaches, they are sort of in the, just missing the word, in the competition battle, so to say, right? So we are doing almost the same. We are both podcasters, and so they would see it from the competition part. I don't consider that as competition at all, right? Because we still can learn from each other, and you are doing things totally different in your manner than I do, even if we cover sort of the same topic here. Yeah. There is no competition for me. I'm not even thinking that way. But I'm stunned very often on how many people are really living the competition thoughts there and the competitive ways.
I agree. I think sometimes it's a sign of a bit of insecurity. People are not maybe 100% confident and comfortable with what they're doing. So when there is a competition and someone's doing something like very similar to them, they just kind of shy away, and they don't want anything to do with them or whatever the story is. And that doesn't really help anyone at the end of the day.
That's it.
And I think one of the most important thing, like we said, is to kind of help each other out in life. Like, seriously, we're all in this together. You know what I mean? Even if you are massive competitors, like, we're all in this together. And I used to think about this a lot, actually, when I was an investment banker. All the banks, like, they're so competitive with each other. You know what I mean? They don't, in most regards, they're very competitive with each other. But even like internally, you have internal departments which are super competitive with each other. And I could never understand that. I'm like, hang on a sec, we all work for the same bank. We all we're all part of this one organization, but let's rather work together than be like super competitive with each other, So like, for example, you'd have these internal trading desks, and if you wanted to do a trade with, well, I'll give you an example. So say like you wanted to do a trade with one of the internal desks, right? They would charge you a certain amount. What we were finding is that we could actually go to an outside bank, do it for cheaper, you know, which just makes no sense whatsoever. Like you're trying to make more money off the guys that work for you, you know, and they're just going to go, well, I'm going to go to another bank and do it. So, you know, that I think we just, if we realize that we did things together, then it would be a hell of a lot more productive for us overall as like a human race, in our organizations, individually, everything. There's so much power in collaboration, I think.
And we all could participate from it, right?
We could all participate. We could all learn. You could get new ideas. You could help each other out. You could make new friendships. You could create new bonds. Like there's endless things that, you know, reasons why you should do it, basically.
Right. So tell me a little bit, please. So you're running this podcast together with your brother, who is in Australia, and he's a chiropractic, yes, and running his own practice. And he, thanks, by the way, for gifting my listeners with the 3-hour coaching call from you. And 1 hour coaching call from Greg, who will be on the pod here also later on, and to how to set up a podcast. That's really interesting, right?
Cool.
And so you're splitting the work. How do you do it? So everybody bringing in people?
Yeah, totally. So Craig is actually, he's my brother from another mother. He's not like my direct brother.
I know, I could find that out in my research.
No. So, I mean, we have the different surnames, so that probably gives it away in the first instance. But we're super close buddies. And, you know, I'm just super thankful that once again, you know, like him and I ran into each other. We ran into each other just through mutual friends in Ibiza, of all places. And literally that was over 6 years ago, and we just hit it off. And then just to answer your question around the podcast, it's amazing. Like, it's so weird actually as well, because Craig just absolutely loves audio, right? He loves, he loves sound and he loves audio, and I love video and I love writing. So it was just like this amazing sort of convergence, and we share everything out really, really well. You know, he does all the audio editing, puts together a hell of a lot of audiograms and stuff, which we use for our marketing. I do all the video editing because our podcast is video and audio, and I do all the writing for it as well. And then I like update the websites and these sort of things. And then we both participate in sharing and posting on social media. And and then there's just such a nice bond between Craig and I in terms of understanding each other now. Like, of course, in the beginning, you know each other well, but then you get to know each other better and better and better, and you know how to deal with each other and all these sort of things, and work with each other. And there's this amazing kind of like synergy and energy and understanding between us now, and we really are working on some cool things to help grow our podcast. And we both have that mindset. We're both really flexible in terms of we're not like adamant that we have to do something and something has to stay this way. We're always like, how can we improve this? How can we change this? What can we do? How can we grow our audience, etc., etc., etc. And that's just been the sort of driving force behind why we're still going now, and why the podcast is going well, is because we are very flexible in our approach, but at the same time we are very sort of driven in terms of where we want it to go, and these things. So we share each other, we share everything out evenly, which is great. We also do have a couple of people which help us on the audio side to just do like the initial cleaning of the audio, and then we have someone who helps with the transcription of our podcast too. And then the ultimate goal is to actually, you know, really have a team of maybe say 3 or 4 people around us and part of it, and then we can become more hands off in terms of the overall sort of editing and production, side of things, and then start working more on our coaching program and our talks and our retreats and these sort of things. So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what the podcast is actually providing us. And also it's the lessons are really, really interesting too, you know. So how to build a business, why it's important to be patient, how to work with each other. All these things are just valuable lessons that we would never have known unless we actually decided to start doing this, which is great.
Yeah, totally agree, Greg. And well, the listener, of course, he can listen and hears us talking here, but most of the people don't have no idea on how many things are going on in the background, right? So with the episodes and with the editing and the intro, the outro, so many steps, right? Until the episode is airing, right? And I'm not too much the technical girl, so I have the editing done by my technical assistant because I just suck at it. And that's why I decided, no, yeah, it sucks for me. I'm not good at it. I rather to do 5 interviews more than one editing because I just don't like it, right? And like you just mentioned with Greg, you're splitting according to your talents, right? So
100%.
one brother likes the video and the other likes the audio part, and we should just do what we love and where we are good at, right? So that's a perfect split in whatever has to be done.
Yeah, it is, and for sure. And I think you're gonna do things that you like to a better standard and a better quality. So that's another reason to do things that bring you joy, you know. And you're actually going to dislike the whole thing. Say, for example, if you had to do the audio, you're going to actually dislike doing the podcast because you do audio editing, and that's not the goal of this. You know what I mean? You must use your strengths wisely and hand off those things that you're not good at doing, especially when it comes to business.
Right. Yeah, and that's really, of course, we think at the first thought, that will cost. Yeah, of course, I have to pay my technical assistant, but he's studying this and he just loves this. I don't like technical things, and I'm not good at taxes and accounting. It just sucks for me. So I have to pay, of course, my accountant to do the taxes. And as entrepreneur, we always have to do them. So it's an ongoing thing, but I just outsource this because I come into a bad mood and I'm not here and wonderful, I can talk to Gareth, but I have to do the taxes, right? It's a whole other energy, and of course what we don't like, we normally are not good at.
Yes, yeah, for sure, exactly. And you know what? You said there's something about energy, and I think energy is so important, especially like say when it comes to energy management. And like every single morning you wake up and you have a certain amount of energy in your tank. Okay, so you need to be using that energy wisely. Use it on things that you enjoy, things that bring value, and especially also in the conversations that you have. You know, choose those conversations each day wisely. The ones that you need to invest more energy in, that will bring more value, do that. The ones that won't, don't, because they're going to suck your energy. And you know, your energy, it's even though you've got a full tank, it kind of like once it gets down to like 60%, you really start kind of diminishing your output. So you don't have a lot to actually work with in the big scheme of things. And it's important just to be thinking about that every single day.
Yeah. So listeners, Imply Nation, I really hope we could inspire you on just focusing mostly on the bright side and on the things you love and you're good at, and to improve what you're already good at. That makes more sense than focusing on things that we don't like and eventually not good at. So I hope we could inspire you to focus more on that. So, Gareth, we are nearly at the end of our interview. Did we cover everything you wanted to say?
Yeah, for sure. I think I would just like to maybe finish with a couple of things, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'd just like people to be very conscious of how we communicate with each other.
Yes.
I honestly think that communication is the beginning and end of so many things, like it can, and it's the start of so much evil, and it can end so much evil. And we all have it within ourselves to communicate well and to be conscious of how we communicate. And the other two things related to that are listening. We really need to start listening to each other that little bit more, right? Rather than giving your 2 cents, maybe just listen for a little bit longer to what somebody else has got to say, and then ask some questions off the back of that. I think the more we can listen and the more we can communicate better, the better that things are going to be for us overall, and really improve our relationships. And everyone needs to also understand that your reaction to any situation literally determines the next step. Okay, so
yes,
someone can come at you firing, right? They might be angry or whatever the story is, and you can respond with anger. But there's that saying, don't fight fire with fire, because it never actually works out. If you do reply, and you're angry as well, that's not going to sort any situation out. You have to be the bigger person often in life. And sometimes it is super difficult. But if you can sort of not fight that fire with fire, and just sort of put things out and calm them down and go, cool, okay, just maybe explain a little bit more what's wrong, etc., really diffuses things. And I think we're seeing a lot of this at the moment, say like on social media, with people, you have your keyboard warriors and people just sort of saying horrible things to each other. And we really need to be conscious that this can actually really impact somebody by the way we communicate, and especially saying horrible things, because people are actually quite sensitive, and yeah, just to understand that we do have control over this, and we can really change someone's day with some good communication.
Yeah. And just bringing a lovely smile, right? That's
sure.
that free. Doesn't cost, and for the other person might just cheer them up or bring them in better mood, right? So responding anger with anger is everybody sucks, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like, it's kind of immature in a way, you know what I mean? We're just letting our egos fuel things and control us, and
doesn't lead to nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So glad you brought that up. And we just need to remind ourselves, still we as coaches need to do that. And being present and being aware. And that was what I had to change, because being a single mom and having 2 sons and dog and 2 companies to lead, I was all over the place, of course. And I was multitasking genius, but then this blew off my mind. So I was just doing too many things at a time, and I wasn't present at none, right? So that's what I changed totally. So what I do now, I'm doing, right? So if I'm in the interview, I'm in the interview. There's nothing else that's interesting in this moment than you and my listeners, right? So that's I think to make up our mind where our awareness goes, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's very crucial, and to be present, not thinking of yesterday is the past, and tomorrow we don't know. So we're just spending this very only moment, which never will come back. We're here now, right?
Yeah.
So, and either we enjoy it, then wonderful, or if we wouldn't, then realize it and in a kind of way get out of it, right? So sometimes we also think we need to stay in situations or in relationships because it is, but we can change it, right? And that was the idea we wanted to inspire. And you just mentioned that. It's us who can change it, right? If it's not good for us, feeling happy and fulfilled, and then we don't really need to stay inside of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's a couple of things there that you said that really resonated with me. And the first one is about being present. And I think it's such an important thing to actually do. And it's an art as well. But the thing is, what we need to realize by being present is we actually get to benefit so much more ourselves and the person and the overall conversation by being present, because you're really in that conversation, and then you can listen better, you can ask more questions, you can understand the person a little better, you can see what's going on, and that's really, really powerful. At the end of the day, like we said earlier on, you want to be intention based with the interactions that you have, and if you're present, you're going to get much more out of that interaction. And then the other thing which you also spoke about, and which I love, is we've got to simplify our lives. Seriously, let's just, this world is complex. There's so much choice. There's so much going on, but we have to strip things back. We have to find out what is actually important to us, and really, 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 really try and simplify our lives, because otherwise we actually get nothing done. And you get super overwhelmed when there's too much on your plate, and that's just a horrible spiral downwards, and all bad habits like procrastination and whatnot, and everything kind of sets in. And but once again, it's a thing which we actually have control over, but it takes discipline. I think this is one of the most important things that I like to teach people. And I know it doesn't sound sexy and it doesn't sound cool, but one of the most important things in your life is discipline. Yeah. And if you can be disciplined in your life, you're going to reap amazing benefits. And we should all actually focus that a little bit more on being a bit disciplined.
Yeah, totally, Gareth. And of course, we as entrepreneurs, we need to have it. Otherwise, we are broke, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have to stop by from 9 to 5, and nobody telling us you have to be in and waiting here for time to be 6 to go. We decide everything on ourselves, but we have to, kick our own as to just get things done, right? Because there is nobody in the background. So we have to be disciplined really to get things done.
Yeah, you do. And I think, my realization now, I think compared to what I thought my life was going to be like is completely kind of different. And I now have so much more respect for entrepreneurs, because I actually thought, cool, my life is going to be easy. I'm going to wake up late and I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go to gym 3 times a day, whatever. But the reality is that it's very different. And the reality is that it takes much more discipline to work for yourself, as opposed to going into the office. Going into the office is actually quite easy, because you have to be there and all these sort of things. There's other people that are relying on you, etc., etc. And in many regards, it's not easier because you have to deal with a bunch of other issues. But I think it's easy to go into the office as opposed to easy. It's difficult to wake up in the morning and motivate yourself and have the discipline to follow through and do the things that you need to do as an entrepreneur. It's a very different skill set, and it's not something I guess you actually maybe acknowledge until you've made that transition or done it yourself. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it of course can be very overwhelming, right? But I still wouldn't love to change. I love it, right? But we are responsible for the marketing, for everything, right? So it's a lot more you have on your mind. So not to let procrastination kick in. There's really discipline needed to follow through.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, what you put in, you get out. That's literally what it is at the end of the day. You know, if you want to wake up at 9:30 and start work at 10:30 and still be in your pajamas, don't expect too much, to be honest with you, you know. But if you are still prepared to wake up, you know, early in the morning, have a bit of a morning routine, get your mind in the right zone, and start working. Start with the most difficult things in the morning, then you're going to reap the benefits. You know what I mean? And you're going to be able to do the things that you want to do. Like you said, you want to be able to go to the Caribbean and you want to be able to work from the Caribbean and all these things. But you have to do the hard work. You have to have the discipline in your life to be able to give you that flexibility.
That was a fantastic last word. Couldn't have said it any better.
Cool. Well, I hope it was helpful. So it was great chatting with you. Yeah, it was really cool.
It was wonderful, Gareth. Thanks so much for being on the pod, and greetings to your brother. I will write him also to get him on the pod. And thanks so much.
No, well,
You're
thank
wonderful.
you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much as well. And I think it's just important to acknowledge like what it is to be a host. So thank you for having me on the show. Like so much goes into these things, you know what I mean? All people do is actually they see the end product, you know, and you've had a whole string of emails before this, like, you know, getting in touch on Messenger and then emails to actually book this in, then research on your own side, looking at questions, getting prepared like mentally before the chat, and then everything that goes into the production afterwards. So it's a massive amount of work. And I just want to say like, thank you so much for, investing the time in this podcast and having me on the show, because it really is an honor. And, we need more people that are doing cool stuff like what you're doing, and, which gives people permission to go and do the same. And it's kind of inspiration and motivation to go and do the same. So just thanks again for the opportunity.
Thanks so much for being here and your kind words, Gareth. Love you.
Yeah,
and greetings to your brother. And I think we are doing a great job inspiring people here with our podcasts and for free, right? And just mentioning the little bit of the work in the background that comes with it, but it's still totally worth it.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, it's a choice. You know what I mean? This is a choice. We don't have to do this, but we want to do it because we like it, because we are passionate about it. It gives us a purpose, gives us meaning, and it allows us to meet people, allows us to learn from other people. And I think this is one of the most important things that we realize, I guess, from our podcast and before we started. And it's also why we started, is because we have so much to learn from each other. And that's just such an important thing in life to sort of remember. And that's why you must take an interest in other people. You must listen to them. You must ask them questions. You must listen to their story, because you never know what you're going to pick up. You really do never know. And, Craig and I, as like hosts, we have really, really changed a lot. We feel like we're now a little bit of every single guest. That's who we are now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus the person we were before. And we're removing sort of maybe things of us that weren't great, and we're kind of replacing good things that we're learning from all these other people. And it's just such an amazing experience. And we must all treat each interaction that we have with everybody in our lives as like a learning opportunity, and and just make the most of it at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's just wonderful. And Fly Nation, I hope I could inspire you really to go for your dreams and to freestyle yourself and really be you. And I will put everything in the show notes that we talked about, so you can find Gareth, and also the podcast. I will put it in so that people can listen in. And as you know, you can win prizes, and so 2 other prizes: the 1-hour free coaching call with you, Gareth, and the coaching call with your brother, especially on how to set up a podcast, will come into the lottery pot. So my listeners can win those prizes. And that's just fantastic. So thanks so much again. And everybody has a wonderful, lucky day, and sending you sun.
Thank you. I need it. Cool.
Okay,
All
bye,
right, cool.
everybody.
Cool. Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for listening in. I hope you got new inspiration to seek help and surrender to love no matter what situation you're in. Hopefully you could take away that transformation is possible. By getting the right support, you can embrace life joyfully and enjoy your life on your own authentic terms. Please rate and review the Freestyle Your Life podcast on freestyle-your-life.com/podcast if you like today's talk, and make sure you qualify for the amazing I Love to Fly podcast giveaway by subscribing and referring 3 friends to the Freestyle Your Life podcast. All experts and myself are happy to assist and support you. Just reach out to us. Thanks for joining us today, and don't forget to tune in next Thursday and listen in to your next inspiration on how to freestyle your life. You will learn another priceless shortcut on how to break free and restyle your life on your own authentic terms. Becoming authentically you will ease your life and business. Remember, Fly Nation, break free and fly. Looking forward to talk to you next Thursday. Bye.